I got to a point it was in 2019, and I was working from 2016. In 2019, there was something in my head to say that, is this all that there is? Go in the morning, maybe 6, 8, 9, and then leave, because I like to work hard. So I go early, I leave late. But then when I receive salary, maybe on the 25th of the month or the 26th of the month, and I pay everything, direct debit takes all the money. And then even by the first of the next month, I have maybe that £25 left.
What? 20?
Yeah.
As a side hustle?
Side hustle. The only thing I outsourced was the cleaning. There was a time we were doing 10,000 a month and then 40,000 a month.
Profit. Okay.
So you can never tell how big this can become. So maybe you can get to 100K a month. God knows. But the thing is, this is what I like to share. If you have a mindset of starting something, just start it. It doesn't matter how imperfect it is. Because you never know how far God wants to take that thing. In fact, you yourself, you might be surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to do 30 properties. I just wanted to have 3. But that 3 has led to, now we're at 35.
Welcome to another episode. We're here with Dr. Tosin. Very inspirational. He has basically transitioned his life and designed his life in a way that suits him and his family. He's into real estate. He's into biology. He's a former professor. He's a coach. He is a deacon. I mean, name it. He is everything. So I know that I will definitely learn something about during our conversation, and I know that you will learn something during our conversation. So, all right, I'm excited to discuss with you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Should we start by maybe going through your story? So, who were you growing up, and how did you find yourself in the UK here?
Right. Thank you very much. So, my name is Tosin Obata. I'm Nigerian, so my growing up was very interesting. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a teacher, high school teacher, and my dad was a teacher. My mom was a petty trader. Okay. So I watched my mom do business, but I think I took after my dad in many ways, because I was very academic from little, so I didn't have to really struggle to pass or to do well in school. So I've created a path for myself being very academic. So primary school was very good. Our home, a father and a mother with 7 children. It was very big.
7 children?
Yes. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers.
It must have been chaotic in the house.
Yeah, it was. But it was good. We enjoyed it. You're never bored.
Right, yeah, I
suppose.
We
didn't need any adult to do things. We just carry on with our lives. So it was a very interesting, and there was this siblings competition and rivalry. We like to outdo each other in whatever thing. So my growing up was very fun. I was in the village, and I really enjoyed village life. There was no pressures. We made our own toys, all those things we did. So that was my route. And then I went to a high school in Nigeria, in the village still. And then for the first time in a long time, I got into a city when I went to the university. Yeah. So it was in the university that I began to see the world in a very different form. Okay, this is big. Many people speaking with British accent. As
a person from the village, right?
Yeah. When I was in the village, I could barely speak Yoruba.
Oh, really?
I was speaking dialect.
Right.
We had dialect in Ondo State, Akoko part where I'm from. So I could barely speak Yoruba language. But when I got to the uni, I had to not just speak Yoruba, I had to speak English. Although it's not that I couldn't speak English. We learn English in school. But we don't tend to speak English outside of school. Yeah. So when they say, don't speak vernacular, we stop talking. Because we don't want to, because either way we'll speak vernacular. So my growing up was very interesting. But all through this time, from primary school to university, there's a trend in that, and I think it's like grace. There's a grace for me to do well in anything I'm doing, or anything I was doing at the time. So it doesn't matter whether it is mathematics, physics, or geography, or economics. some people tend to be good in math and then they won't be good in English.
Yeah.
So in respect, regardless of what the subject is, if I focus on it, I'll do well.
I mean, it sounds similar to a belief that I have, because I know about the brain that, some people tend to lean more to a certain aspect of life, maybe creative, some maybe more theoretical.
Yeah.
I know that there are research studies that
Like that.
discuss that. But I seem to believe that no matter what it is, if I really want to do it
And
I put my focus and everything that I have in it, I can excel in it. I can at least do it to a standard where you will consider it to be good.
Yeah, that was my thinking. So that was my growing up years. And after my first degree in University of Benin, which I came out top of the class by God's grace. In fact, the best in the faculty. So it was like big deal. I actually didn't desire to do that. I was just doing what God has been helping me to do from primary school. And then eventually I got the best result in the faculty and department. And then everybody around me, including my professors, they want me to do well and just stay in academia. And because I'm very academic, my whole thinking, my life, I want to be in the academia.
Yeah.
In fact, if you asked me 10 years ago, what do you want to do? What do you want to be in the future? And 10 years ago, I just finished my PhD. I wanted to be a young professor in the University of Benin and then just retire. That was the goal.
That was it.
That was the goal. But fortunately for me, my professor started to point me in the direction of overseas. I had one of my project supervisor was based in the US, so he just moved to Nigeria at the time. And then the other guy who was like my mentor in the university was an American trained. So they are very international in their thinking. So they want me to go outside of the country to go and do my master's and my PhD, and then you can come back. That's the whole training, and that's like my journey was already carved out for me. So do your master's, do your PhD, come back here, help us take this department to the greater height. So I did. Applied for scholarships. God helped me. I got one of the best scholarships you could get at the time was PTDF.
Okay.
These people paid our accommodation. They bought books. They bought shoes for us. They gave us £3,000 in cash before we left Nigeria.
Oh, wow.
In fact, it was...
And the exchange rate back then was something.
So it was like, for the from the village to this kind of, it was very strange. In fact, they put us in a hotel for 2 weeks. I've never stayed in a hotel before. I've never had a buffet before. So all of these experiences were very... So there's a life like this.
Yeah.
And then I go to Dundee for my master's in environmental biotechnology, because my mentor in University of Benin was trying to push me into the direction of developing an area of research where we can use microbiomes, so bacteria and fungi, to degrade and break down pollutants in soils. So when there is crude oil pollution or contamination in a land, we can actually use biological materials to break them down in a very environmentally friendly way. So they want me to go study that, identify those strains that will be effective for that. So that was the goal. So I went to Dundee, did it just 1 year. Did it. Before you know it, as God has been helping me, I did very well. In Benin, I was competing with Nigerians. This time around, it was Italians, Brazilians, Indians, a lot of Indians, Pakistanis, British. But I was able to do well. I was the best. In fact, I got given cash for, the vice chancellor gave me 2 awards.
Yes.
And then they came with cash. In fact, I didn't, in my mind, I didn't think I deserved the cash because I didn't do anything special. But that's how God has helped me. And then after the master's degree, all I wanted to do was go back to University of Benin, continue this new research you're trying to develop and your job. So I went back. I was working, this time around, I've now seen another way of teaching. So I was teaching my students with PowerPoints. I was, with practical materials. So they liked it because it's not what's just dictating note that they were used to. This time around, they could see, they could feel it. So
you're able to basically look and see, okay, what are other people doing that's helpful that can better what I am currently doing, the status quo.
Exactly.
And I think it takes a special grace for people to do that, because a lot of times people just take in terms of they just receive. They don't think, okay, how can I apply this
Exactly.
in maybe what I'm doing? Okay, so if we fast forward to
PhD.
PhD, what made you? I know that you are academic. You always wanted to be in academia, and possibly PhD is one thing that you wanted to do. So how did you then say, okay, this is what I want to do my PhD? How did that get you to where you became a professor?
So yeah, so after when I went back to Nigeria, I was teaching in university again. At that time, Nigerian universities were already pushing this idea that for you to be in academia as a recognized academia, you have to have a PhD. So PhD is like the minimum requirement you need to get. So now I have my master's from the UK. I need a PhD.
Yeah.
So I started to apply for me. Getting admission was not the problem, but getting funding was the issue. So I was applying for funding from Germany to UK to everybody, everywhere. I was applying, and within a few months of being in Nigeria, I got an offer. This scholarship from the European Union,
Right.
but in partnership with Scottish government, University of Aberdeen. So, but instead of it was no longer in environmental remediation that I was thinking. It's now in energy. So, but still using biological materials to create energy. So it's still aligned with my goal of as a biologist. So I went for it. I did the interview. I was in Nigeria. We're doing it on Skype.
Yeah, when Skype was a thing.
When Skype was a thing, but eventually there was power outage.
Yeah.
The internet was off, even though my laptop was charged, but I couldn't get Wi-Fi. I had to run around. Eventually, we ended up on the phone.
Okay.
I thought I'd lost the opportunity.
Wait, during the interview, power cut.
Yeah.
And disaster, you must have thought. And then you had to get on the phone.
So those people asked me, do you have a phone? They sent me an email. So I received on my phone. Do you have a phone number that we can ring you on?
Okay, wow.
So they rang me from Scotland on my Nigerian mobile, and then I had to complete the interview on the phone.
Wow.
And then they were hearing the sound of generator. It was I had to move away from it. So when I got back there, in fact, I thought I'd lost it because of that, all those hiccups. But eventually I was awarded. They gave me the opportunity. Oh, wow. And when I traveled back, they asked me, what was that? All those, they were just trying to make use of me. But I got the scholarship for the PhD, and then I finished in about 3 years after that. And then, that's what brought. So the fact that I needed a PhD to be in academia, that's why I did a PhD. And luckily for me, it was funded. So I was getting paid a stipend every month as part of the PhD process.
And you did your PhD. How long was the PhD?
PhD was for 3 years. So for me, because it was very technical, so it's usually between 3 and 4 years.
Okay.
So you can take the whole 4 years or finish in 3 years. So mine, I finished in 3 years. By end of 2015, I'd already finished my PhD, and then graduated in 2016. The next month of graduation, I got a job in Bristol. So that distracted me because my goal was to finish my PhD and go back to Nigeria.
Go back, yes.
But as soon as I finished the PhD, graduated, I got a job in Bristol. So I had to write to my university in Nigeria, please give me some time. Let me try and gain some more experience.
That was still the plan.
Yeah.
To go back to the university in Nigeria and say, yes, I'm going to bring all of this wealth of knowledge that I have acquired.
I didn't plan to stay here because my goal was be in academia, help this department and enjoy
retirement.
Yeah, just work there, 30 years, retire. That was it. That was like my ambition at the time.
So what drew you to the university at Bristol to say, you know what, guys, give me a few more time, some more time.
Yeah.
And I'll get back to you.
It was because, from 2009 that I've started to do academic work, academic research. It's mostly academic, mostly learning most of the theory. Although I've done throughout my PhD, I was doing research and practicals, but I wanted to be in the system and see how the system works, from the research, from the teaching, from the scholarship, from everything. so that when I go back to University of Benin, I will be collaborating with the university here,
Right.
as colleagues rather than PhD student to,
I see.
so they would know, okay, this guy was here before and he had this track record. So there we'll now be connected as colleagues. So I wanted to have that establish that connection.
Yeah.
Instead of just coming, just learning and going away. I wanted to learn
You
the
wanted to
culture.
position yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Learn the
Position
culture of
yourself.
the university, how the system works and things like that. And then I can take that experience back.
Yeah. And one thing that you did say that struck me was that not only did you want to learn, you wanted to sort of position yourself in a position where you can relate with them as colleagues. Mm-hmm. So by working there for a few years or a few months, they will know you as a colleague rather than the PhD student.
Yeah.
And then when you did travel back to Benin and back to the university, you could have the colleague sort of relationship. Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people don't tend to think that far ahead. It's good to live in the moment, but it's also important to look ahead, because then if you have a designated goal, something that you want to do, a dream or whatever it may be, you can then see, okay, what plans do I need to take now in order to reach that goal? And unfortunately, a lot of people sort of just live in the moment, which is also great. I mean, that's an ideology that you can live your life through, where you're not really caring about what happens tomorrow. I mean, the Bible does tell us not to worry about tomorrow. But I guess there needs to be a balance where you're living your best life now, but at the same time, there's consideration for what is to come in the future.
That's right.
Okay. So you did your PhD, you started working in Bristol, you still had the intention to say, I'm going to go back to Benin.
Yeah.
What stopped you?
That's a big question. So within that, when I was finishing my PhD, I got married.
Oh, okay.
And then moved my wife from Nigeria to the UK.
Did you marry over there or?
Yeah. I went back home to marry.
Have you known each other long before you traveled?
I met my wife when I went back after my master's to teach in the university. And she was in another faculty trying to finish up her thesis.
Okay.
So that's how we met. Within that, I was there for like maybe 6-7 months. So we met her at that time. And then I left to come back for my PhD. So my wife joined me around 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And then she started to tell me, you're planning to go to Nigeria, but Nigeria is no longer the way you left it. So things are changing, and you might need to reconsider your plans because you might go there and regret it. Okay, so that was why I took up the Bristol job to see, at least I'm still here. You can still see me. So 2016, and then it was in 2015 that Buhari was elected. So, and we had these high hopes that Nigeria was going to,
I remember. I had high hopes too.
So, but over time, there was this gradual decline. And the more the decline happened, the lower my desire to return. Because what are you, you're returning to a more declined environment. So I was just trying to wait. And then in 2019, Buhari was reelected again. And this downward trend continued. And then my wife is telling me, you see, it's not going to get, it's not as the way you think anymore.
Yeah.
So, and that's has made me to stay till now.
Okay. I mean, imagine if she wasn't there, right?
If she wasn't there, I would have been
you'd have gone.
Yeah.
And people still thrive, right? Even in a declining society, people still thrive. So it is possible that you could have still be thriving. Even in that environment, but it's going to be a lot harder.
Because I had friends that would finish PhD together here from University of Benin, but when they went back, because for me, I got a job and I said to stay back. They went back within 3 months. They left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy told me in pidgin English. I was communicating with him because I wanted to know what's happening so that I can make my moves.
Okay.
And now I was asking whether the weather in Nigeria was not so harsh on him compared to the weather in Scotland. The guy said the people harsh past the weather. So he couldn't, the environment was very toxic, was very hostile to him. So he had to come back. He's in Essex now. He's a professor there.
Yeah.
So he has left. So there's a few of my friends who also did the same thing. They're coming back, and my wife says, "You see what I'm telling you."
Well, sometimes it's good to just listen to your wife, right? Sometimes.
Most times.
Most times, my wife is gonna question me about that statement. But yeah, so you decided to stay, and I suppose you were working as a professor in the university.
Yes.
In Bristol, and there came a time where you just said to yourself, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to completely shift my life ambition. I mean, you've been thinking about being a professor and being in academia all your life. Yeah. And finally you're there and you could just sit and maybe not in Nigeria, but in the UK, just retire, at the highest office, maybe in academia.
Yeah.
But then you decided, no, I'm going to shift the trajectory of my career. Why? And what did you shift to?
It's amazing. I actually... I got to a point it was in 2019, and I was working from 2016. In 2019, there was something in my head to say that, is this all that there is? Go in the morning, maybe 6, 8, 9, and then leave, because I like to work hard. So I go early, I leave late. But then when I receive salary, maybe on the 25th of the month or the 26th of the month, and I pay everything, direct debit takes all the money, and then even by the first of the next month, I have maybe that £25 left.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, so is there anything else I need to do to make this situation better? So academically, there's no additional degree I needed to do. So I've done PhD. That was like the peak of academia. So anything else, what else can I do to get? And as a researcher, I was asking myself, but you research everything. So why don't you find out that one as well? So I decided to find out. What can I do? I was looking at Forex trading. It didn't go well with me. And then I looked at, because I like to drive, so Uber, delivery. I was looking for something just to help.
Something else.
Yeah, something else just to help that finance. And then I'd always been interested in property. But I knew that property investing is very expensive. In fact, if you want to buy a house, you need 25% deposit if you want to use it for business. So I'd already ruled myself out of that. It's impossible. How many £25 can you put together to get 25% of £100,000 house?
Yeah.
So that wouldn't work for me. So it was my quest. I didn't just say I want to leave academia. My quest to better my financial situation that then led me to a part of research that then opened the world of property investing to me in 2019. So one of my, every year people have, they have New Year resolution. In 2019, one of my key New Year resolution was to start a business. What business? I couldn't tell, but just start a business. The whole of January, I was sleeping and waking up. I was dreaming, what business? What can you do? What can you do? I didn't start anything. But I told myself, you need to do something. So on the 1st of February that year, I registered a company. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Just registered it. Sounds good. Sigma place, But at that time, I was investing into property. I was looking for a way to do it where I was with my condition, with my lack of finance. I was just able to do something. So, and then I found a way to lease properties from those who have it, and then use it in a more creative way, and then make some money out of it, make some money for the landlord, some money for myself, and then rinse and repeat. And that's how I did it. But I wasn't looking to leave academia because academia was all I knew. So I was doing these two things. When I found a way, I was doing it side by side. 2019, 2020, COVID hit, but still did not affect my desire. 2021, I was doing it side by side. But this time around, because of the success I was getting in that area, I've gone from one property in 2019. In 2022, I was running maybe 20.
What? 20?
Yeah.
As a side hustle?
Side hustle. And I was doing the only thing I outsourced was the cleaning. Everything else I was doing myself. So communication with guests and setup and things like that.
But where do you find the time? Because, money is one thing. You figure out a way to solve that, how to at least start.
Yeah.
Then the next thing is time. At this point in time, you had a wife,
I had
you
a
had a
boy.
full-time job, you had a boy, and now you're doing this side hustle. How did you find the time to manage that, knowing that you're the one doing the majority of the work in the house and just outsourcing one thing?
Yeah, I had to find a way because before I was able to find the property avenue, I was driving. I was doing delivery for people. I
Right.
was teaching biology, A-level biology online. So my goal is, okay, if you can, I divided that time. So usually from when I close from work, from 7 to 11, I'll go drive. And then I'll come home. My wife and boy, they're already asleep. So I thought, I cannot continue like that.
Right.
So I was teaching biology like a few times a week. But I realized that and if I'm teaching it, I had to sit down there for that 2 hours. So I was looking for something I could do that is not directly proportional to the money. So the time does not directly correlate to the money. And that's how this property thing came. So I don't have to the time that I needed to focus on it was in the initial stages, the evenings and my break time. So when people are going for lunch, sometimes I skip lunch or I eat lunch 10 minutes. And then the remaining 60, 50 minutes, I do a lot of activities around the property, around the business. And then evenings, I will not go to bed until maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, sending messages and things like that. So I utilize my weekends, my break time, and my evenings to do that.
To do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned that you were doing a few other things like teaching. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily understand is the power of focus. Because I would assume, let me ask the question. Did you decide to stop the teaching and stop some other things so that you can focus on this business, on the real estate, thinking this has a lot more potential? And I think the trade-off for you was that you could save yourself a lot of the time that was costing you. So you mentioned about the correlation with time and money, and that's probably the one thing that stops us from having the life that we want.
That's right.
It's because we are working and directly exchanging that time with money, and time is the most valuable asset.
That's right.
In the sense that you will never get it back again. like yesterday is gone. In fact, the last 2 minutes is gone. You can never get that back again.
That's right.
So how can you maximize that time? And one of the solutions that I think you alluded to was focus. You were able. Let me ask the question: Did you stop the other, I guess, teaching? Yeah. Did you have to stop them and say, "Let me focus on this one thing because maybe this is where I see the most potential in that regard, and also where I wouldn't have to spend so much of my time in the long run on trying to trade that for money"?
Yes, yeah, you're right. So I had to stop the teaching and the delivery, the driving around, because I realized that both of them, there's a direct correlation. I wish I can set up a course and then the course people just do it, but I couldn't do that at that time. So and then I realized that in this property business, when I set it up, it took me about a week to set it up. When I finished work at 6, I would go and buy things, and my wife even was not happy with me because I was coming home at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, but I had to explain. So when I finished the setup and put the key box and everything in place, in fact, some of the communication with the guests, I automated them. So if somebody asks, where is the key box? They can get the answer. Where is it? So I realized that is, I could not, in fact, sometimes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I wouldn't need to do anything.
Wow.
And the people are booking when I'm asleep, they're paying when I'm asleep, and the money is coming in when I'm asleep.
How can you make money while sleeping?
Yeah, so this one has better prospect than this one I'm driving around in the night. So yeah, that's why I then close everything else and focus on that for 5 years. Only that.
Wow. And did you have a goal to say, okay, I want to have this many properties by this year? How did you figure out the how to scale this? Okay. And I know that you're still thinking, okay, how can I even scale it some more? I'm not sure if you want to share your your goals and how you plan to do that, but how did you do it in terms of scaling?
No, I like to share this all the time. When I got our first property in Bristol at that time, and at the end of the month, I saw that when I pay everybody else, I had like 600, 700 pounds left, like profit in my bank
Each month.
every month. 700 pounds profit. So in my head, 700, my salary at the time was after taking everything, like 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So just three of this will match my salary. So my goal at that time is to get three.
So at the time you had one.
Yeah.
And it was giving you 600 to 700
yeah.
a month. Okay.
So my goal is to get three.
Yeah.
So that at least I can match my salary. I was go even up to now. No, it was at the time it was three. Just get three so that I can get that 2K extra while I was working. But the thing is, when you start something, you can never tell how big it can get. You know, right now, there was a time we were doing 10,000 a month and then 40,000 a month.
Profit. Okay.
So you can never tell how big this can become. So maybe you can get to 100K a month. God knows. But the thing is, and this is what I like to share. Everyone, if you have a mindset of starting something, just start it. It doesn't matter how imperfect it is. Because you never know how far God wants to take that thing. In fact, you yourself, you might be surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to do 30 properties. I just wanted to have three. But that three has led to, now we're at 35.
Wow.
And we're not stopping. So I don't know, maybe it will get to 50 and maybe 100. But for me, I'm just continuing to do what I'm doing and let God do what He will do.
I mean, so your initial goal was three.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to help some people set targets. So after you reached that three, was there a moment where you said, okay, maybe financially, this is where we want to be? How many properties does it take to do that? And then that became your target? Or was it just a target of, maybe we can do another 10 this year?
Every year, we scale it. So beginning of this year, we're, I think, 28. But in the last 6-7 weeks, we've done additional properties. So, but this year, we'll probably get to 40. But the goal now is to systemize in such a way that it's no longer about the number, it's about the profit. Because the bigger the portfolio, the bigger your headache. So we're trying to streamline it in such a way that our headache is going down, our profit is getting bigger, and we don't have to increase to get that bigger profit.
Yeah.
So, and because of experience, we can do that.
Yeah.
Trying to focus on the one that works really well, maybe take out the ones that are not working too well and make it bigger.
Yeah. I think we're going to have probably a separate conversation about that business and how the step-by-step how to do that. I think that's a separate, because it on its own is, I think, big, right? There's a lot of things that we can unpack. But I'll put that on one side.
Okay.
Let's look at, you mentioned that, a lot of times you would come back home late and your wife would not be so happy, and then you have to sort of explain yourself. And I know that you have two children,
boys, yeah.
2 boys at the moment. So the family is increasing. Your time. So at what point did you say to yourself, first of all, before we go to that question, at what point did you first say to yourself, I'm going to quit my job as a professor? So that's one. And then the second question is, how did you manage to keep your wife happy and believing in that vision that you had? Because I would imagine now she is like, thank God we did that. But before then, she might not have seen it unless maybe there's a way you had shown her or got her to believe in it. So two questions, and I know that there are quite a lot. One, when did you decide I'm going to quit, and how did you do that? And two, how did you get the family and your wife to be happy whilst you're pursuing this, or at least keep them at bay and help them to see the vision of what you were trying to create? Right.
So why I left? It was after COVID. I went back to work. But during COVID, I think, and this affected a lot of people as well. They realized that they could do more. A lot of businesses started during COVID, and which was good, but might not be good. Maybe government didn't really like it.
Yeah.
So after COVID, I went back to work, and because I stayed at home and running business for a long time, so it was affecting So I just have to stay here for maybe 6, 7, 8 hours. And then at the end of the month, what do I get?
Yeah.
So it's like I was underutilized and underpaid because I was doing a lot. Wherever I am, I work hard. You know, I don't mind putting in the hours. But if you can match it, you know, pay me for those hours.
Yeah.
So I realized it was actually over time. So this business is giving you enough money. Even if you don't do this job, you'll be okay. So I continued because I love academia. That was all I knew before. So I wanted to keep at it, just keep doing it, keep putting my best here. But the more I did that, the less the enthusiasm and the desire and I was losing a lot of interest in it because this now is like my new interest. And I now have like a bigger interest than the academia.
What you had.
So it just got to a point. I told my boss, my prof, that I want to leave at the end of this time. So about 2 months notice period. And then I left and focused on the business. Although my wife is not really 100% happy that I left.
I mean, I was going to say, what was her reaction when you told her, like, I think I'm going to leave?
Although I didn't leave, like, quit. I just, it's like, someone went on annual leave and didn't come back. So the goal is, in fact, my professor still messaged me, one of my professors messaged me that I need to come back. I shouldn't stay away too long.
So technically you're still on annual leave?
No.
Oh, right.
No, I'm not on annual leave. So because in academia, the more you stay away, there's a lot of research that's going on now, although I still get to review things here, but I'm not up to date in research. So they don't want me to stay away too long so that there's no gap in my understanding of things. But in my mind, because I now enjoy time freedom, because I've systematized my business and then I've employed some people to help me, so I can manage my time a bit better. I can wake up on Wednesday morning and go to pray. A lot of people don't have that privilege.
Luxury, yeah.
I can go Friday morning, go for a run. When everybody's, I see traffic, everybody's running to get to the office, and then I go for a run for an hour. So I now enjoy those things. But if you send me back to university now, that would be taken away from me. So it's that struggle. And then to answer the other question, how my family was able to buy in. I think my wife is very understanding, and she trusts to a large extent trusts my judgment that this guy knows what he's doing. So that's why I just need to say, okay, this is what I plan to do, and she said okay. But I said when, say for instance, if I want to stay doing setup till 1 a.m., I need to let her know. But sometimes I just forget. I get lost in what I'm doing, and I don't. And then I say, okay, this is what happened. And then I show her this. You see how nice it look. So she will like it. She liked the fact that my energy is towards something that is productive.
Yeah.
Something that can do well. So that's how. Yeah, she's very supportive of my business, and in fact she's part of it now. She has eye for details. I'm still a scientist. I've never learned business, so I still need help from time to time. So, but my wife has eye for detail, so if she comes in a place, she can easily make it better. So I let her help me to
do that.
Yeah.
So you basically recognize your strengths and your weaknesses and said, you know what, I'm not so good at this part. I'm going to outsource that and gladly, graciously have your wife.
I'm colorblind. So, but my wife is very good. So, because I'm colorblind, there's limited color I can see.
Yeah.
Gray, yellow. So there's some colors that like this color. I don't know what it is. So
it's kind of white, yellowish a bit.
So I would never put this in my property because, but my wife would do it. We'll go and put it because it would, and then it would look nice to me.
Yeah.
But because I can't appreciate that, and it's my limitation, so I let people who have that skill help me. And that's why I hire people that have a different skill set to help me to do the things that I cannot do or I'm not able to do.
Yeah. So how many people do you have?
So I have two food. So I have a manager. I have somebody in the admin office full time. I have a full time cleaner, a few part time cleaners, I have a lawyer, I have an accountant.
Okay.
So that's my team.
Wow. And this from just deciding
Just
to break out of
from
your
one
9 to 5.
property that I borrowed the money. I borrowed the money that I used to start that one property.
I mean that's another question, because usually when you borrow, there's this stigma on borrowing, right? And this stigma on that kind of loan. And personally as well, when I think of it, sometimes it's kind of like, oh my God, now I have to find a way. They must get paid, right?
Yeah.
So whatever, they must get paid. Now, what if it doesn't work? I know people right now that have that are doing the property business, and they've had to take loan for it. And they also understand that they need to pay the bank, or they need to pay whoever they loaned it from.
That's right.
And how do you manage that? Because I would expect that it's not every property you did that was 100% blissful.
No.
Right? So there must have been some hiccups on the way. How did you, I suppose, manage that? And where did you get your drive from to say, I will keep going? I know a saying, and I'm a firm believer in failure is not a no. Like, failures will come, but there should be a driving factor, a motivator to say, at least at some point, success will come.
Yeah.
And also, I'm also a believer in small gratification. So I like to see, even if it's one follower that's just followed, I'm so happy. Thank God for that one follower. A lot of times think they have to wait for 1,000 or 2,000 or 100,000 for them to celebrate. But maybe just celebrate that one that you have.
Exactly.
But what were the hiccups that maybe you came across during your business?
So at the start, the problem was I didn't have money.
Mm-hmm.
People were seeing me, this guy works in university, it's a good job. It's a good job, right? Mm-hmm. But there's no money at the end of the month. Yeah. Maybe because I was living in Bristol. Bristol is a very expensive city. But I didn't have money, I needed to start. But I had this drive, I had to do it, I had to do it. But my friend saw that this guy has everybody who I meet at that time, I would tell them, this is what I'm doing now, apart from my work. So, and then I told him, I need this money to do this thing. I'll give you back. I'll give you 10% on top at the end of the year. And then he borrowed me the money. Up to now, he has not collected it because it's compounding.
It's compounding, okay.
So that's the first hurdle. We need to be able to. I had to pass that by being focused on being, that tenacity. I need to make it work. And because I borrowed the money, and I needed to pay it back, I had to make it work. So even help my desire or my drive to be stronger. Now, to the follow-up question about what happens when things don't go well. This business it has too many moving parts, so it can go wrong. Sometimes very bad. A few years ago, we lost one of our major clients. So these guys from Portugal, sometimes they can take 18 properties and pay us good money every month. And then suddenly, Brexit, this thing, they were not recognized as, they couldn't stay in the UK for certain, long story short, they had to demobilize them within a few days.
Wow.
And these guys, they were supposed to stay with us at least 8 to 9 months. So we're not doing any marketing, we're just relying on, okay, this is good. And then suddenly, the plug was pulled.
Wow.
So we used to get like tens of thousands every week, zero. And because of the nature of the business, we have a lot of overhead. So there are people we need to pay, landlords especially.
Yeah.
Utilities, council. These three people, they're not patient.
Yeah. They want it. They want it.
They want it now. So I was losing maybe 40K a month.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I had to find 40K every month from
For how long?
3 months.
That's £120,000.
So I had to borrow money to keep making sure that, okay, the landlords are paid, the utilities are paid. For like 3 months, I was just trying to survive. Borrowing, everything, every way to make sure these three set of people are happy. We had to do it. It was tough, but I didn't get salary throughout for maybe 6 months. I couldn't get paid because all the money has to be put in the back.
But why didn't you just say, I'm losing 40K every month. Let me just pull the plug.
Close it.
Let me go find a job. And at
Go
least
back to
will
it.
pay me and go back to that. Because, it's demoralizing when you're losing 40K every month and it seems like there is no hope. So you must have seen something to say, or there must have been something that kept you there. And I can imagine your wife's voice, right? Why did you quit your job? Like, how did you manage that? So why didn't you say, okay, let me pull the plug? And how did you manage, or how was your wife's reaction to this situation?
First, I didn't tell my wife.
Probably a good decision.
Women panic
Yeah.
a lot. But for me, I don't know, maybe it's grace. I'll still go back and I'll still sleep my 7 hours, 8 hours. Because I know that if I wake up the next day, I can face it again. And there's this feeling that God is with me. He's helping me. Even though it's turbulent, but it's not that it's there. And it's going to see me through this turbulence. In physics, there's this experiment. If you put like a metal ball on a straight line and on a undulating line, the undulating one will go there faster than the straight line. So in my mind, life is not supposed to be straight. It can be. This is even better for our mental health and for our overall progress. It's better to be like this than to be like this. So it's like
why would you say that? I understand the physics, but would you say that it's because there's a lot of lessons to be learned? Would you say it's because you feel like you're growing in terms of mentally, knowledge-wise, and that's what's propelling you forward? But I mean, I understand physics, but in reality, in real life, why would you say that? Because everyone would like a smooth sailing.
Even me, I would prefer smooth sailing.
But why would you say like a sort of zigzag will get you there faster?
It's what you learn in those tough times. Because I learned a big lesson from that we shouldn't rely too much on one person or one. In fact, right now, we don't rely at all on OTAs. OTAs, online travel agencies, Booking.com, Airbnb. Because sometimes somebody books your place for maybe a month and then 2 days to come, they cancel it. You're already expecting like £4,000 to hit your account. Zero. So those times were the learning curves that I needed to learn in time so that when winter comes, and winter will always come. Right now, I'm praying to God that we need to pass this winter.
Yeah.
When winter comes, winter affects our business quite badly. But because of the learning we've learned in the past, we're able to do well even in winter. So right now, we're getting to a stage where it doesn't matter whether it is winter or autumn or summer, we'll do well because of the lessons that we've learned. So God wanted me to learn that lesson, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And when you learn the hard way, it doesn't leave you easily.
For sure.
So I learned.
You don't want to make the same mistake twice, basically.
That's right.
And I think that's what I was alluding to previously when I said failure is the biggest teacher and is almost necessary in order for you to successfully succeed, if that's a word. But then during that turbulent time, when you were losing 40K, what was your wife's reaction and how did you manage that? So you didn't tell her at all?
No, I didn't tell her until the end.
Oh, and what was her reaction when you said, oh, by the way?
One thing I learned is to, I gauge people's previous interactions and experience. So if in the past you have panicked about 2,000, now what will you do about 10,000 or about 50? So it will not be good for her, not just for me. It will not be good for her because she wants me to do well so badly that my failure will be her failure. So I want her to continue to maintain her sanity while I try to find a way to deal with what we're dealing with. And because at the time she wasn't really part of the business, so I didn't want to drag her in when it was not going well.
Yeah.
So when it was going well, we didn't carry her along. So now that it's not going well. So at that time, we just tried to shield her mentally from it. And me and my team we're fighting everyone. In fact, it got to a point that people will come to my door to come and ask for money and they say they want to sell my car so that they can cover the cost of what we are owing.
Yeah.
So, and some of these people, if we're owing like £2,000, they want to sell the car, But God helped us. We survived.
It must have been tough.
It was
to navigate that time or period in life. So where did the breakthrough sort of come from?
It was because we were relying on one. That was what led to that. So right now we don't rely on one. We have an array. So if this doesn't work, this will work. If this doesn't work, this will work. So we're now doing a lot with different organizations, different people, so that we're not caught out. There's no, even if one says there's a change of plan, the other one. So we built resilience around that.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about, sort of rounding up this session. Let's talk about the family dynamics and your wife. I know that your wife is studying to be a medical doctor. Medical doctor. How? I know that sometimes she travels. I think in Georgia.
Yeah, she travels.
So she travels a lot. And you're left with
the boys.
I suppose that in hindsight, the time that you spent initially on the business is sort of paying dividends now to some level, but it's still got to be quite hard when she's not available and at home helping with raising the boys. How do you manage that dynamics?
Okay.
With a wife that's been studying to be a medical doctor, traveling.
Yeah, because my wife has always wanted to change course. She used to be an optometrist, and then she wanted to do something much more clinical. So I think it was God's design that I went into the business. If not, she wouldn't have been able to have this time to move to do her own study and things like that. Because if I was still in the university doing 9 to 5 every time, not able to do school run, she would not be. She would be. I would need her to do school run and to do some other things, and then there will be no money to even pay her fees, because as an academic, I don't have a lot of surplus. So it was God's design that I'll be able to do the business and then to be able to cover some of this cost from this business. So in terms of managing my time while she's away with the boys, because now we've got a point where the business could run without me. So the system, have got systems in place, and then people are in place. So they can run the business without me. So I can then focus more on the family. And sometimes I can shut down from the business and 100% focus on the family, and the business could still carry on.
Yeah.
But in the earlier stages, it wasn't very easy, because until I got to a point where I had to do some hires, my wife could not just move around. So
how did that affect her?
No, because she had to delay and delay.
Okay.
Because this study should have been done in 2014, 2015 time. But because of lack of funding and timing, so she couldn't do it. So, but when God helped me to get to a point where I could have more money and more time, I'd say it's hard to get both at the same time. So more money and more time, so then she could go do her studies, and then I could then focus more on the family.
Yeah, I mean, you said something. You said God helped you, and you said that a lot of times. God helped me to do this. God helped me. How important is, I suppose, your faith in your business and maybe your outlook on life?
I think it's all of it, because personally, I think that God is the one helping me to do everything that I do, helping me to see things that I see. In fact, to even say I want to improve my financial situation, that inspiration, that idea, it's the same idea, because ideas, it's like wavelength. It's traveling everywhere. Some people, when you tune to the frequency, you can pick it. But when you pick it, what do you do with it? There are many people some of my friends who are still in the academia now, still going through the same situation I was going through, but they haven't done anything about it. So the fact that I could do something about it, I think is grace. And for me, this is just the way I think. I think I've seen grace upon my life from day one. So right now I'm just enjoying it. I'm trying to continue to enjoy it because when I was in primary, secondary, university, during all my study time, I've never failed any course. Not because I studied more than anybody else, but I didn't just fail. So it's harder for me to fail. It's very hard for me to fail. Even if I want to fail, I will not.
Yeah.
And I think it's God that is making it happen.
Wow.
Nobody else could do that.
Yeah.
It's not no power can do that. It's hard for me to fail. In fact, I don't think there's any academic thing I need to do. If there's any new academic thing I need to do, I will not fail it. So that mentality is what I brought into the business. That's if God can help me in that level, He can help me in this level too. And at home and in business, anywhere I want to do, that grace will continue.
Yeah.
It would not just stop in academia. It would,
yeah. I mean, God's backing.
Yeah.
Throughout your career.
I think He's there, always backing me up.
Okay. So to round up, let's look at, because I think your story has been inspirational, especially in the sense that you had to manage your family. You had to make a tough decision, I guess, with something that you've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
And I suppose your number one motivation is time, and time with family has sort of driven you, and your curiosity as a researcher as well. There are a lot of people and men that are in that same situation, and a lot of excuses that I do hear is, I don't have the time. Or, I have a family, I have boys. Sometimes I use those excuses. Sometimes I use those excuses too, because it's viable. It's viable excuses. Valid point.
Yeah.
But the reality is that people have done it. And you're an example. You have done it with your family, having to make this decision. And even when times were hard, you were able to, with God's backing, find a way to not just pull the plug and believe in this thing that you set your mind to. You've done it. So to people that are listening, and especially men and dads that are listening, what would be your number one or top three advice to them to say, you can do it? And why should they do it?
Right. The thing is, it's about, I'll say, let me rank it, the why. So why do you, say for instance, why do you want, so you need to see a change. You need to see the need for change. Say for instance, I've been working hard and then there's not a lot of money to cut. So if you don't see the need for a change, you wouldn't pursue the change. So you to see the need for change. So in 2019, I thought that there has to be something. There has to be more to this than all of this. What else do I need to do to get to? We have to see a need for a change, and then that need for a change, that why, how to be a strong why. Now, why do I want to work so hard? If that why is strong enough, then it will be easy for you to work hard. Why do I want to start a business? If that why is strong enough, you, even when it's tough, you will not quit because that why is strong. Les Brown said the why for him was to buy a house for his mother, and no matter what happened until he bought the house for his mother, he didn't stop. So for me, is to disconnect my time from money making, because we have limited time as people. So even if you work 24 hours, there's so much you can get. So my goal was to disconnect time and money, so and be able to earn something even while I'm not directly working. That was my why, and so that I could spend more time with my family and do the other things that I like to do. So see the reason, the need for a change, and then let it be a strong one. And then the third one is just to do it. Even if, no matter how badly it is, just start.
Yeah.
Because you never know how far you can go. You never know. And a lot of us are we like job a lot. We like to work.
Yeah.
It's good. But even the Bible says that a man that does not work should not eat. But the thing is, when you work, you should expect to eat. Don't expect anything more than that. If you're expecting more than just to eat from work, then you're expecting too much. So what we need to do on top of that is to find a way to create something. Something that will maybe add to that income, or use the seed. I always tell people, every money we get has a seed in it. Whether it's a salary, it can be 10, 20, 12, 10, 20%. There's a seed in that. And that seed, when you plant it, it will germinate and grow and give you fruit. But a lot of us, because the money we think is very small, we eat. And if you eat the seed, we eat everything.
Nowhere to grow.
And then if you eat your seed, there will be no harvest.
Yeah.
So sure. That's why we have continued to struggle. And me, I struggled even up till that time. So all of us will struggle if we continue to eat our seed. So my advice to men especially is to, no matter how small you earn, keep the seed. Keep it safe. Plant it, invest. And then let the seed germinate, let it grow, let it give you fruit, and then even reinvest the offspring. Reinvest. Before you know it, that simple seed will become a forest in time. So that would be my
awesome. Well, thank you so much, men. Just do it. Everybody, not just men. Everybody, just do it. I think just start.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe we will do another one about property, more about the property business and how people can do that. And if you want to see that, leave a comment. If you leave enough comments, maybe we'll do it again, right?
I think I like to talk about property now. I used to like it talking about biology. Now I can talk all day about property. So,
but not so much about biology.
No, I can still talk about biology.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.